blockchain solutions for enterprise.
Hello, all right. Well, we're so happy to see so many people here still. It's late in the afternoon.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so thank you very much for the prior panel. It was fantastic, and it's a very good introduction to what we're trying to discuss right now. We have 15 minutes. We're only the two of you as panel members, which is great. Gives you time to give as much as
our
you can.
stories.
Yeah. So why don't we give for a small introduction from the left? I mean, we already spoke about you, but again. Namir, please go ahead.
So I'm Namir Khan. I'm the founder and CEO of FILS, which is a sustainability ESG fintech focusing on democratizing access to carbon markets. I also serve as the chairman of the Middle East and North Africa Fintech Association, working closely with regulators, policymakers, and the ecosystem from Morocco all the way to Pakistan, covering 23 countries.
Right. Mohammad, we heard about you, but just give them a little bit in case something is new. Who are you? What do you do?
Yeah,
Whatever.
so I've been in the Middle East for almost 25 years, moved from UK about 24 years ago, been doing lots of interesting things. I work currently for Ernst & Young. I lead the digital government practice across the MENA region. I'm also the EY startup leader for MENA. And in my personal capacity, I also have a couple of startups, tech startups that I'm working on, social enterprises, basically trying to solve some real-world problems.
Fantastic. Myself, some of you know me, I'm Gustavo Montero, founder and chairman of Carta Capital. We manage digital assets for clients. We manage wallets, really, like an ex-banker. And we tokenize real assets. We're currently tokenizing a gold mine in Chile, and we're tokenizing land and trees in the Amazonian basin. So I'm very much into this subject. But I'm glad to have two people with such an incredible knowledge in this subject, because we call blockchain solutions for enterprise. The first question I have, is blockchain a solution for enterprise? I come from the old enterprise. Is there anything new in blockchain that provides a different solution? Maybe start with you, Namir.
Absolutely. So I'll give you an example. I personally myself was never, or previously, I wasn't, I would say, a major blockchain advocate until I personally saw the use case that we are working on. And the story is this, is that we realized that we wanted more transparency, more credibility in the system. And we came to the point that we need to ensure that when we're being audited, there is ease. You know, the same way when you're creating a platform is ease, access, convenience, transparency, and affordability. What we wanted to do in order to ensure that we are trackable and traceable, and we have audits so that, you know, we can open up our ledgers and books to everyone else outside to see what we're doing. We realized that this is the perfect solution to embed blockchain into our platform, right? And once we did that, everything changed for us as a business, one. Two, we work with some of the tier 1 banks. And the conversation that we had initially with the banks, of course, was on the platform, which was very well accepted. And I was a little hesitant speaking to one of the banks. But when I mentioned to the CEO of the bank, I'm like, hey, by the way, just to bring this to your knowledge, right? And I was a little hesitant that we have also integrated with the layer 1 blockchain platform called Sear. And instantly his eyes lit up. And I was surprised with that reaction. And he's like, this is absolutely what I was thinking the other day. How do you avoid double counting in the carbon markets? And that's how it started. This is
fascinating.
So I see it happening
fascinating.
Quite...
Mohammad, what about your views? Is this a solution for enterprises?
Look, I mean, it's a big question which can be looked from different dimensions. But if I was to look at some of the use cases I'm seeing, then definitely there is an opportunity. And especially for those organizations which are working in fields where track and trace is a need. You in the logistics, supply chain, or even in the food business where you are looking to move product from farm to the doorstep or the table, then there is a need to actually bring this technology into play to give that safety and, let's say, protection and comfort to the consumers and the people who are governing the whole value chain, whether it's the organization themselves or it is the government in that particular country.
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense. Please go ahead.
I just want to compliment, what you were just saying right now, is the major problem that we are solving in the carbon markets or the net zero transition, which is everyone is talking about it, every business, every state is talking about it. How do you ensure that anyone who's claiming that they are sustainable, the value chain, the supply chain is sustainable, how do you validate it? So there you go.
Absolutely.
So the third-party validation, I think, becomes a major important
New
part.
accounting.
Yeah.
Let me give you my perspective. I come from a similar world to you, probably. Pricewaterhouse in Switzerland, auditor, consultant, etc. Then I was the CEO of Standard Chartered in Switzerland. And then I was in the board of Kramer, which is a private bank in Lugano. The things I'm doing today with blockchain, I would have never been able to do it. We are tokenizing a $15 billion gold mine in Chile right now. This is my company. And we are going to give, what you said before, the world the option to own $1 of that mine. That did not exist in my times, at least, when I was doing it. So you have a comment on that, Mohammad?
No, I was going to say, even today, if you think about it, the access to capital, and from the other side, as an individual, access to opportunity is very limited. And even today, majority of these opportunities are not in the access for me or you or common man on the street. So this is definitely a way forward in which we can bring a gold mine from somewhere to the doorstep of someone in any part of the world, whether it's Africa, Asia, or Western Europe, to have a piece of the action and potentially generate some wealth, additional wealth for themselves.
Well, it's certainly generate wealth. That's part of what we're doing. Any further comments on that? On the actual fractionalizing of the asset and offer it to everybody else in the world?
So that's what we do on the fractionalization of carbon credits, right? Because right now when you go and buy carbon credits from an exchange, it's a minimum trade of 1,000 tons. Whereas we saw that as a problem, and then we leveraged, of course, blockchain technology itself to ensure that we're able to fractionalize in a manner and be able to offer businesses to even buy grams, if not kgs, of carbon offsets as well.
Fantastic. That makes a lot of sense. So let's move a bit on into the solutions, all right? In my old times, when I was a banker and auditor, we always spoke about scalability, all right? Can we scale the business? So my question, maybe we'll start with Mohammad this time, is are blockchain solutions scalable? Can we scale globally with it?
I think the answer is going to be a mixed one. It depends. So if you are in an industry where you have the quantity and the volume of when you tokenize or you fractionize, there is a huge market, there are people who would be interested, then yes, it's scalable. Take the mining one as an example. If you do tokenize that and try to now scale it, it is possible because there's interest from around the world, generally in gold. But if it's in areas where the interest is low and it's not backed with something tangible as a physical asset, is big question mark. Will it scale? Will there be enough interest? For anything, whether it's a startup product, there's always two dimensions to look at, and I'm going to steal Guy Kawasaki's way of looking at opportunities into the 2x2 matrix of how unique is it and how desirable it is. Between the two, there is a sweet spot. So is it unique and there's not much competition, and is it desirable? So there is a market. There are people willing to pay for it. That will give you the answer for any of these.
Absolutely, Mohammad. That's absolutely on the spot. Namir, what's your view on scalability of blockchain procedures and systems?
First of all, is the problem that you're solving? How big is the problem? That is very important. I've always, I mean, being an outsider with the industry, I've seen that we have spoken mainly about assets being tokenized, and of course we're talking about property, we're talking about gold, which is great. And we also need to look at the larger opportunities, which has state mandates. And today there are many opportunities out there. Second, what we have personally seen is the quality of the blockchain or the chain that you're working with as well, in terms of the technology, how good is it, right? So I believe that assessing not just the opportunity, but the partner you work with makes a huge difference in terms of the scalability that you are intending to achieve.
Right, perfect. Makes absolute sense to me what you're saying. Now, there's another matter that is important is I think we all agree that we're in a process of transition, somewhere. We don't know where we are exactly. I like to say to the people that I listen to me in conference that we need the next generation to have a real transition. I don't believe, this was discussed before, I don't believe in mass adoption within 10 years. The reason is because the next generation, the generation of my daughter, 17 years old, is not yet earning their money. All right? When they do, they'll start spending in this industry very heavily. But we don't have that generation in yet. I think that is the element of transition. But I wanted to ask you a question. You can comment on that as well. Question is, in industry, we have systems and protocols, which represent whatever they represent. We now have blockchain technology with new systems and protocols. Is it compatible? Mohammad?
Yeah, so before answering that, I do want to disagree to some extent with what you said. I think anyone who is born a digital native, and and also anyone who's a digital immigrant, right? So, which gives space to some of us, then definitely we are going to see a rise. Because I do understand what you're saying in terms of anyone who's 17, 16, 15, 18-year-old, maybe they're not earning at the moment, but the one thing that is common is that they're learning how to live, or they've grown up living in a virtual world. And they are used to tokenization, they're used to earning things, even if it's from a gaming and gamified perspective. So for them, you put this on the table as an opportunity and say, this is how you earn, it's going to be very natural for them, yeah? And the trust and the comfort is going to be much more there with that community of people than it's going to be with the digital natives, the digital immigrants, or those who are not even the digital immigrants, right? Yeah. So coming back to your perspective, and I actually lost the train of thought.
No, that's right. I thank you for that. I'm just going to comment on that specifically. Where I come from, mass adoption is very simple. The world economy is worth somewhere around $100 trillion today, somewhere there. We represent 1 trillion, all right? Meaning the crypto industry, around. There are discussions number, but those are more or less the global numbers. For me, 1% of 100% is not mass adoption yet. That's what I was saying. But I do agree with you. Yeah. So the question was the new blockchain systems, all right? Are they compatible with the systems we have in the old economy? That's the question.
Good question. And I think there are some which do very neatly join together and work very well, especially if you look at the logistics industry, supply chain. I think there is definitely synergy, and they're gelling together quite well. But others, obviously, they're very disruptive, and it's difficult because you have a business model change or a significant business model change. That's where the questions start to arise. And the adoption is not there as fast as it is for the conventional. So take real estate, for example. If we're going to tokenize and we can look at real estate or a mine, these are real economies that exist today. The adoption of that, I think, will happen a lot quicker, and yes, they will work in sync with the current systems and the business models. But if it's something totally new, which doesn't exist and it's created purely in the digital space, there's big question marks because the digital economy itself is growing and is starting to take shape. We don't know how quickly that will happen.
Absolutely, yes. Lamir, how about your views on the compatibility of these two systems?
So I think the compatibility is, the lines are blurring. And the reason why the lines are blurring is, from an outsider again looking at it, is because of the demand of the businesses itself. The current technologies, if it's not a blockchain-focused, blockchain-native technology, it does not solve major of the problems. I'll give you another example that we have seen so far. Again, from the carbon markets example. When it comes to basically issuing or offsetting credits, we saw and we realized that not just double counting, but the certificates that are being issued could be replicated too, right? So then we realized, hey, why not we leverage the use of NFTs over here? And that's what we did. That's one. Second, I'll just take a step back and talk about the generation over here. So if you look at it, first we had the gig economy, where people got used to ride sharing, etc. The second, what we're looking at is fractional ownership. So you would have fintech companies offering solutions, propositions which help you buy a piece of a property, if not a property, right? So this generation is getting used to the fractionalized ownership. So therefore, you need to serve that demand that is rising. Third is going to be that the same generation is also earning quicker. Now, if you look at gaming, well, from what I have been studying and I've been seeing, because we're doing some use cases on gaming itself, what we have seen is that youngsters, and of course, gaming propositions also offer an opportunity for youngsters to earn as well. And of course, that leads to spending as well earlier, as we see. And the transition is also involving the younger generation being able to earn faster than what we would be previously doing by college or by university days. Fourth would be that the connectors between the current legacy infrastructures and the real world, the real time and the more futuristic technologies working with blockchain-enabled platforms, you need some intermediaries to be able to bridge that.
Absolutely.
Right? So we see all of these, I would say, lines that are being blurred through these platforms.
Absolutely.
Just
please
to
go
add
ahead.
one more thing. I know we are close to time, but just one more thing which we need to factor in. You do have certain economies which are emerging, which are completely circular, and they are in the digital space.
Absolutely, yeah.
So you are going to you're going to play a game, maybe you're going to earn something from that, and you're going to spend it, consume it in that space. You would never bring it into the physical world. So that's, again, another area where we're going to see growth of this kind of solutions.
Yeah, I'll just tell you a couple of things about what I can see. I originally came from the audit industry, all right? So as an auditor, when you had to audit a company, basically you would go the next year, during the first 3 months, to audit the last year. And you were presented with a whole bunch of documents, so you have to really review and say yes or no, right? With blockchain technology, we're going to have one entry in the book, which is the entry that we all agree is the entry. Well, the question I'm asking is, where's the auditor now? He has one entry. He doesn't need to audit it. It's done. He just needs to perhaps know that it's there. Yeah. So that's,
And I'm just going to give an example of a country, by the way. They don't use the term blockchain, but they're doing exactly this and have been for years, is Estonia. They gave it the name of, obviously, decentralized ledgers, but they have been, for years, before even blockchain became a concept, widely known by people. And today you're in a position where pretty much all of your organizations are documented in terms of their transactions. So when you come to the end of the year, your tax return is actually already done. You just need to confirm it, and not have to complete a tax return and submit it, which is very different to where most of the other countries are.
Absolutely. So compatibility in there. Just going to finish on that, then we'll go to Namir. The other thing we're doing on the project side on Carta Capital is currently we're NFTing land in the Amazonas, the trees, and we're tokenizing the canopies for carbon credits. Everything we're doing there has nothing to do with the traditional economy. That's my point about compatibility. It's not even an issue of compatibility, it's an issue of, it's just a different way of accounting for everything we're doing. We're coming to the end, so perhaps from Namir's end, is there any message you would like to give to our distinguished audience on this subject, which is, you know, solutions for enterprise in blockchain? Namir?
I would always say, look at the opportunity that you are going to be solving. Right now, as we speak, the net zero problem, the net zero ambition that all the countries have is going to touch every single industry, every single country, every single business, and all of us are going to be a part of it. There are a plethora of opportunities. Look at it. A person like me, who was outside the blockchain world, becoming one of the, I would say, advocates of it, is an example that leverage the technologies you have around you and solve problems, and of course you will generate significant amount of wealth and revenues as well.
Thank you, Namir. Mohammad, your message for the public.
I would just echo that and build on it and say, look, there is a real opportunity, but go in with your eyes open. And for organizations, look at this as a possible track to move the needle on how you want to raise finance, capital. There are different sources, and this is one of them. Yes, stay with the traditional, but do experiment.
Fantastic. So our time is up. Thanks, AIBC. Thanks, Olga, in particular, for giving us the opportunity. And let's have a picture together.